Welcome. Hi, this is Carol from SkillCheck. And today I'm here with Amy Bix, and we're going to be talking about Toy Storage Nation. And it's all about RV and boat storage and how to develop it and get into the industry. And I think it's amazing. So, Amy, thank you so much for being here today and talking to us about this because it's booming, right? This business is booming.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I'm so
Not
excited
changing.
about that. I know that over the years in self-storage, depending on how much land I would have, I'd say, well, let's do RVs out back, or, it's not that anymore, is it? Now we're like,
No.
wow, it's just amazing the difference. And I think one of the things is during COVID, so many people went out and bought RVs. So that's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Mhm.
Like of all things, I guess because people were cooped up and then they thought, well, geez, why not, go camping or I don't
Well,
know.
part of that's COVID, but also you're dealing with a new set of folks retiring and, retiring younger, and wanting to travel. And so, when we look at this kind of increase within the boat and RV area, it's been steadily gaining. Of course, it did gain quite a bit over COVID, but really we don't see the trend changing. And the fact that if you buy a boat and RV, regardless if you still own it, someone needs to store it. Whoever purchases it after you needs a place to put it. And, most HOAs and whatnot don't allow for people to have the boats and RVs.
Yeah.
Right. The traditional way of doing it in the past really isn't going to cut it. The having the back lot in a traditional self-storage, those days are kind of done. People that have spent a lot of money on their boat or RV want a place to store it, that it's going to be protected. They want the amenities when they go there, the ancillary services and whatnot. And so the need for this executive level Class A boat and RV storage facilities has really gained over time. Just to
Yeah.
give you one stat with regards to RVs, to tell you, if you talk to most RV and boat storage owners, they're full. If you buy an RV, you'll know that it's very hard
Yes.
to find a place to store it when you buy
Right.
it. That being said, I've gone to a number of facilities that are just in the middle of construction or just starting, and they're already sold out. So we don't have a place to put what's already out there on the market. There is one maker that recently, there was an article late in the year, I think it was Thor Industries, that they were $18 billion in backlogged orders. So
Wow.
not only do we not have a place to put what's there now, we need a place to put where all these
Oh,
ones will be coming out. Yes.
yeah. I personally know some people that, stopped work because they didn't have to go to an office and they bought a big RV and then
Mhm.
took their family. And I mean, it's amazing. I mean, why
Absolutely.
should I know so many people that would do that? But I do. It's just odd to me. It's odd. But though I have to say that looks very inviting to me. I'm not, this look. That's why I put this in here. I was like, oh
Oh,
yeah,
I mean,
that's my kind of camping, right?
a lot of these are hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Right.
right? I mean, it's crazy how nice they are now, and it makes sense if you're going to buy something like that. It's truly an investment. You want it covered, you want it secured, you want easy access to it, all of those things, and you're willing to pay for it. You're willing to
Right.
pay a premium, and as an owner of a facility, my goodness, what a better payment model. You're going to be paid. These are
Right.
folks that are happy. They're happy when they're coming to get their toys, but also they're paying. It's not something that if they're not making their payment, you're just, maybe throwing away some old dishes or whatnot. This is a very expensive piece of
Yes.
property that they're securing.
Yeah, I just did a feasibility study for a guy in South Dakota, and they wanted to have specialty units just for big RVs, and they're
Mhm.
in the middle. I'm not joking, nowhere, but they know a lot of their friends have these big um, motorhomes, and they don't know where to put them. And if they
Right.
do, if there are places, they're probably 50, 60, 70 miles away, and
Mhm.
even those are full. completely
Yes.
full. And
Yep.
most of them aren't big enough for these RVs, so they wanted to put, electric garage doors. They, wanted to make everything super easy for these vehicles to get
Hmm.
in. So we
Hmm.
we we worked on that whole plan, and they're moving on it. So and you
Right.
think South Dakota in the middle of
Everywhere.
nowhere?
Yeah. I
I'm
know.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, someone recently asked me that, is there one area over another? And maybe at one point we would have said Sun Belt, but anymore, it's
It,
everywhere.
Yeah, well, and especially they literally said our friends are dying to try to find, and then the places that do have them are so far away or they're completely full.
Yes,
So then
absolutely.
what does that leave you with? So they're like, even if we could get 30 of these or 40, and they have some land, so we
Mhm.
worked it out. But it's amazing how much of a need there is out there. And I will share another thing with you. During COVID, I worked with a call center, and we
Mhm.
got tons of calls for our big RVs and just RVs in general. People went out and bought them, and then they didn't realize that that the HOA would be there,
Yes.
and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." And this one,
Not
he
that
got in there
far.
and goes,
Yeah.
like, "Well, clearly I did not understand that I couldn't park my own boat that I
Yes.
bought in
Yes.
this place." And he said, "It's so maddening." And I said, "Yeah, well, that's, people didn't really realize that. And then with nice homes and things, they thought, oh, I'll just park it in my back or whatever." And like, nope, sorry, they don't allow that. So
Mhm.
there is a huge pent up demand for
Mhm.
places, and especially that have other services too, don't you think?
The amenities,
Yeah.
absolutely, and people are willing to pay for them. And I've talked to so many, folks in this business, and it's amazing some of the things that dog washes, even, you're not even
Yes.
just talking about a wash for your boat or an RV, but all kinds of ancillary services.
Yes.
And it seems to be a mix and match is different for each kind of area.
Yeah, well, I was really excited when I heard you all had started the Toy Storage Nation, because I think, having, as you say, an independent voice for that recreational vehicle storage industry, and it really is
Mhm.
important because it's a bit different than regular storage,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
it has
Absolutely.
nuances. And because I've done so many things in self storage, I have, experienced where it's like, wait a minute, if you want to have this many RVs, you're going to have a dump station. It would be nice to have propane, let's do, and then they're like, wait a minute, that means employees. Yes, yes, because all of this is service related too, right? They
Mhm.
want, in fact, I did a storage property that was indoors, up in Northern California, up in Sacramento area. But it was near a lake. And so I had ice machine there. I had people that came in and did the detailing. We didn't
Mhm.
detail, but we hired a company and they gave us part of the profits, which was awesome. So there's so many ways you can make all this work.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and not necessarily take all the responsibility of it, but just making, if you're a boater or a vacationer, all of this stuff is really important. Those
What amenities?
details,
Yep.
yes, they're really going to make a difference, especially with these A-class, you know,
Right.
motorhomes. And you want a facility like that too, right? You want something that's really
Absolutely.
high end, or I think you should.
Right. And I think it's important to make that distinction about what a Class A facility is. It's
Yeah,
gated, it's got a fence, it's paved, and then it's covered, whether that's
right.
canopy or enclosed. And then A plus, you're starting to add on technology,
Yes,
of some type. And so that's kind of where we kind of said, hey, this is a stake in the ground. That is what a Class A facility is.
yes, yep,
But you're right, the expectations of what these boat and RV owners that are storing their vehicles has gone up, which is a great ancillary revenue stream. If you're coming up with different services, but the business model is still amazing in that it is, even with all of that, very labor. I don't know a better word, but small, right? I mean,
yeah,
you don't have to have a lot of employees to be running these sites and owning them. And
exactly,
so it makes you do the feasibility studies, the numbers, they pan
right.
out very well. And that's why, from an investment standpoint, we're seeing a lot of interest.
Yes. And I think the more security we have at the properties, the better,
Hmm.
especially these high end, because over the
Hmm.
years, when I've had stores that have not been well, not well built, I'm just going to say, or in a bad neighborhood, they tend to have more problems. So you want to watch where you're building them, the kind of security you're giving, because these are really, they're very expensive vehicles.
Right, right.
I love this about the ownership of, 11 million households having RVs, and then up 62%. That's just amazing. Isn't it about anything that has that kind of increase, there's going to be demand that's unmet. And I
It's
do know that's
and the demand, it's one of those things, this commodity does not go away. So,
right.
it's increasing. And even if it's slowed down a little bit, all of those boat and RVs that are out on the market will still always need a place to be stored. So
Yes. And I
it's
can tell
not
you,
going
I've
away.
had a lot of RV areas, and there are times that people have never moved the vehicle. Like after they parked there, like, sometimes they're older, sometimes, something happened and then their kids
Mhm.
don't want it. And it's just kind of sad sometimes because I'm thinking, I'd love to take that thing
I
out
know,
for you.
it's too bad. There's so
Yeah.
many other families that would have been happy to
Yeah.
utilize it for them.
I also like this particular picture because it shows solar on there.
Solar. Yep.
And solar in so many places, it's more affordable to do now than it used to be for sure.
Right.
And it's such a good platform. We because we have the surface that we can do that
Yep.
with,
Yep.
and it certainly makes sense. And I think and I will say, there are a couple of properties that I've known recently, especially in the like Northern California area. One in particular where the city said no to the project completely. And then they said, what if we did solar on
Mhm.
everything? And the solar from the storage property, um, it was enough to power like 400 and something homes in that area.
Mhm.
And then the city was like, how can we say no to that? Like,
Right.
there's
Right.
no way we should say no to this because now it's a green project. So I think that's interesting.
And there are certain states where I know there's a reciprocal, I don't know if it's called a rebate program or whatever it is, but that those states will work with you. And so
Yes.
that's another thing to look into. But thank you for bringing that up because that is
Yeah.
a big part of this.
I really like this. I mean, I think, so many people, when we are talking about doing any kind of RV stuff, I love when we're thinking about how the ease of getting in and out, because you see how these are angled. I love that because
Yep.
I'm a great driver. I mean, like, I'm like one of the best girl drivers I've ever known, right? And I love to drive, but talk on it, I can't back worth the darn. I just can't. And
I'm
my
glad you're
son and I
bringing
were
this
talking
up.
about it yesterday, and he goes, "Yeah, Dad even said the other day, you're a horrible backer, but you're like the
Right.
best female driver he's ever known." So that's a plus, right? I can drive
Right. Right.
forward, just not backwards.
Right. Right.
But I mean, I've had trailers, I've had boats, I've had things that I've had to back, and I'm like, wait, it's the opposite way that you're you're really
Right.
backing when you're backing is like, oh, geez, it's too much thought. So, but now I have a Tesla, so it just backs for me.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So I
Oh
mean,
gosh.
yeah,
Don't tell
and
my husband
sometimes
that I'm gonna
the
need
new
one of
vehicles are helpful, right?
those.
But I
Yeah,
think
and that's part of when the layout's being done by the folks that are working on the project, for you. That's part of everything that goes into what's being thought about when they look at the piece of land and really look at how do we optimize this.
right.
Um, you know, Positioning for everything is thought through.
Yeah. And I like the other thing I really like is that what you're trying to do within this association is basically help and give, have the executives or the people that have done this before,
That's
that
exactly it.
leadership team makes so much difference, doesn't it?
I'll give you a little bit of background, and I think it explains a little bit more about how this has really evolved from the traditional storage as far as the community that we've created. So you're right. We're very, very lucky to have well-respected individuals that are coming from the traditional storage side as some of our experts here that are working in the boat and RV executive class A area. Years ago, this is how the idea came to be formed. My husband, Troy Bix, who had founded ISS, was actually working on doing a facility with Bob Hayworth from Baja.
Mm-hmm.
And they themselves ran into an issue and needed a place to look for information. And so, they themselves were looking, and there was not one place to go to that
Right.
had resources, information for this, executive level Class A boat and RV storage market. And Troy Bix had founded ISS, Inside Self Storage. Bob has many, many years of experience, and they both thought, this is crazy. There's nowhere to go for this specific information. Of course, they're both very, very busy with their day jobs, right? Troy is
Right.
very, now with
Another thing.
Janus International is extremely busy. Bob is very, very busy running his business.
Right.
And so this was about 8 years later when they thought, well, if no one's doing it, someone's got to be doing it. And that's how this was formed.
Right.
And because of that, we've been able to have, they're not part of the day-to-day, they're very busy, but what we've been able to do is create a board, an executive advisory board, that they are, very well known in the industry, and have been able to give guidance, provide content. A lot of them are speakers at our shows, talking to this executive level Class A boat and RV market. And what I was very happy about coming on board, I have media experiences, so I came on board at the beginning of the year, is how eager everybody was to be part of a community and sharing their information and working together. And it might even be competitors, but now that, they're really wanting to advocate for this market. So much so, a lot of the folks that we are involved with are not only from the vendor side providing services and expertise, but they themselves are now getting into boat and RV facility ownership. So how cool is that people that are themselves owners are willing to share their expertise, guidance with others that are looking to get into the market too. It's
true,
pretty
isn't it?
cool.
Yeah.
And we have a listing on our website, toystoragenation.com. If you go to, I believe it's under our team, you can see everybody that's part of our board, and we're very lucky. And Terry Anderson is our board president and is very involved, and we're very lucky to have involvement from all of our board members.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know even when I had a storage property in this just south of Sacramento, it was in Elk Grove, and this was 1990 something, and they put in some really big units, super tall doors, but then when they got to them, they were just straight on and not tilted, and I was like, dang it, if I had been with you on the get-go of this, I would have said, because we had some units that were right in front of another building, a big rig couldn't even get out of there.
Sure.
So you don't think about things like that until you've had experience.
Right. And the real, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Carol.
No, that's what I was going to say. It's just like, gosh, and have now a place where you can go that helps you with all of that, and gives information. So many times I'm an information giver in storage, but there are lots of people that it's like, this is a secret, we're not going to tell anybody, but I think having these associations, we get to the right vendors, we get to people that have done this before. We get some facts and good information about building and what's efficiency for this kind of project. And there's some owners that love to build, the Taj Mahal of whatever, and others are like, hey, I just want to do this on a low budget. I might do this section now and that one for everybody. Yeah, so a little bit of something for everyone, right?
Absolutely. And I'm going to take it a step back in that what we found is, one, a lot of interest from the get-go from the vendor side. They get that this market is expanding, the huge need for it. And so, but also on the side of, folks that are looking to get in the market, that have been in the market, there's a huge need. And what I mean by that is talking with folks that, and we'll talk a little bit about our workshops coming up here, but it's across the board where I'm seeing folks that are excited for this and the need for it, and that we've got the folks that are looking to get in the market. I've had people tell me, I have money to spend. Please help me. I
Yes.
need guidance. I'm ready to go like today. And so much
Yes.
so that they might be coming to one of our workshops. They're asking me for our sponsor and speaker information to contact them before the event so that they can be doing
Keep going.
business
Yes.
while there. I mean, they're
Yeah.
so ready to go. So we've got folks that this is
Yeah.
definitely a market where a lot of people need their hands held. They need help with everything and they really need guidance overall. So we're finding that segment. Also folks that are, maybe they've been in the market for a little while, that maybe they've started construction or started a project. They're finding, the bumps in the road and they're like, oh
Yes.
gosh, I didn't
Need
know
some
how
help.
much I needed you guys until I started this. And then I'm getting to talk to a lot of folks that have been in the market for years, but they're so happy now that there is a place to go to, a community to talk through, because they're going, there are so many things that I know that I don't know, that I don't even know the realm of it.
Right.
So we're getting, from folks that are participating in the brand, attending our events, coming to our website, the need for this type of information and help across the board. It's been really helpful for them. And you're right, we're able to connect them, whatever it is, if they're coming to one of our events, the engagement level that we see with the attendees,
Yes.
with our sponsors and speakers, I've never seen anything like it before. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's really neat.
yeah.
Even with what I do at Skill Check, because we evaluate people's sales techniques, we do RV places too. Because those people that are selling on the phone, whether they're selling a storage space or an RV space, or the
Oh,
entire
of course.
property that you have,
Mhm.
it's really important, especially when you start getting other competitors. You want to show your amenities above someone else's, or even if you just have a manager that's better at selling, they're going to get that place filled up as quick as possible, which is
Right, right.
so important, or you at least get you to a break-even point.
Absolutely.
But those kind of things, even throughout the community in general of storage and what you all are doing, it's so important to get to the right people to know what's going on, or how you can run your
You can
property
start.
the best that you can. Yes,
We
because it's not
cover.
just about building,
Oh
right?
gosh, no. And thank you for bringing
Right.
that up. I was going to talk about that. So, I guess the best way to think of us right now, and again, we started last year, and right now what we have our website with lots of content, great information, toystoragenation.com, all kinds of resources, white papers, articles, whatnot. We also are doing one-day workshops, and they're intensive, they're long days, but the need to have it be a full day is important, because we cover everything from A to Z, from and I know I'll leave something out here, but feasibility to start off with. We talk about marketing. We talk about, of course, construction, canopy and enclosed construction. We do a facility tour. There you go. We cover operations, marketing, security, software, legal issues. We really cover the gamut of everything that you need. And boy, the questions we get during those from attendees, it shows that every piece of that is needed. So we really, cover it from the inception to the day-to-day running of the facility, and have expert speakers, speaking and available for questions and, connection at the events.
Yeah, let me know if you need my help.
Yeah, we will.
I'd be happy to speak for you too. Because especially being in this business for so long, even some of this data changes. I mean, I do feasibility studies and things like that. And, depending on where you're located, and there's so many different factors in all of this.
Absolutely.
So it's so important to do those studies. Financing is all over the board, depending on.
We cover that too. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We cover financing. We cover also investment too. So
right, because that's all something that's important to people that are even whether you're in this or not, because you can still learn. I go to these shows. I've been in this since 1984. I still learn stuff. I really do. And then, or I could think of, you know what, that's a great idea. I'm going to try that. So it's hearing someone else's, failures sometimes, and their successes make a big deal. So you do have some upcoming executive workshops. which
Yeah,
is exciting
absolutely.
to know. And you have one
Mhm.
July 29th in Orlando, which is a great place to be,
Correct.
right?
And if you want to register, you just go to our site at toystoragenation.com, and then you click under the events tab, and then you'll get to where you'll see the Orlando information.
And then you'll
Again,
let
you'll
us
be
know
able
about
to,
fall and, the upcoming,
absolutely.
they can
Yep.
find that on your website,
We'll,
those dates. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. We'll be rolling those out soon
yeah,
too. And, I can't say enough as far as the type of not just information you're getting, but the connections have been
right,
very, very important. I mean, even amongst our speakers and sponsors, the connections that they've made,
right.
not only if they're building a site, but also just the business connections that they're making with each other.
Yes.
It's very interconnected,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's it. And then we do have a membership program as well.
Oh, good.
And with that, if you go to our site and look under the membership programs, we do have one that gives discounts for some of our vendors.
Oh,
So you might want
that's
to take a look
excellent.
at that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But again, information for people is critical. Getting that good information
absolutely.
too. And
Hmm.
sometimes, I will go to some shows, like I've heard people say things about RVs and stuff. I'm thinking they probably shouldn't be saying that because I don't think they're really an expert. And you're bringing together experts that have done
Absolutely.
lots of these, not
Well-known
just
experts.
one-off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think
Absolutely.
that does make a difference. Well, to me, it makes a difference because
Oh,
I know I hear some things I'm like, oh, that's not true. Well,
I hear
and
you.
you know what? Having businesses throughout the United States in storage, I've been on all kinds of coasts. I've been every coast in storage, managed over 200 storage properties, and a lot of
Wow.
those with RVs. But when you look at it, the people in Florida are using it different than the people in Wyoming. A
Mhm.
little bit, because they're just
In some cases, I think I think you have your kind of standard of the expectation, but you're right.
yeah.
There's some different things depending on location and geography and things like that. You've got
Yes,
to
and just
be
how
dealing
to
with.
how to keep their goods safe in a snowy area versus the heat in
Mhm.
Florida, right? So those
And
are a little bit different animals, though it's still the same sort of thing.
yeah,
But if you
absolutely.
don't have experts, they can't really guide you because they've never done it or understand all of the different aspects
Absolutely.
of it.
And if you're working with these folks that have been working in the boat and RV market, they understand those needs across the country.
Right.
And you're right, they're able to guide you. And what we've been interested in seeing is with our events, first one we did in California last year, we did our second in Scottsdale, and then our third we did at ISS, after ISS in Las Vegas. What we're seeing is our attendees, it's not regional. So just because we have an event in Scottsdale,
Right.
we had more people coming from the East Coast
Isn't that
than
something?
the West
Yeah.
Coast, and it really is dependent on timing. We found that
Yes.
the need for this is so great. It doesn't matter if you need to
Matter.
get on a plane. It doesn't matter what it costs. They're needing those connections to get going on
Yes.
their projects now, and so
Right.
that's been the other thing. But it's just nice to know that we do have really good resources at these events and on our website for you,
That's excellent.
regardless of where you're located.
Yes. Yeah. And what those needs are. Yeah,
Exactly.
customers don't always know either, and
Well,
owners
and
don't
that's
always
where
know what people look for when, unless you've done this before and you think, oh, I give a really quick example before we leave. I went to this storage property that was all RVs, and the gooseneck, you know what I mean, the gooseneck with the gate operator on it, it was at car height. And I'm
oh,
thinking, well, why didn't you? Okay, I don't mind one, but I usually see like a double gooseneck or where you have a higher one for the people who are in their
right,
RVs and they
right,
can
right.
just lean out
Yeah,
the window and put in the code and go through.
and it should be all ease, absolutely.
Yes, and they just didn't think about, wow, these people now have to pull short of it, get
Yeah.
out, put it in, and put it
Right.
back in. They just you've got to think about actually using the property. And I
Ease.
know that's a little thing, but for customers, it's
It's
a big
big.
thing, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
well,
There are a lot of those
Amy,
pieces.
thank you so much for spending time with us today. And Toy Storage Nation is where we want people to go to find more information, or they can reach you at amy.bix at toy no, it's
Toy
so hard.
Storage Nation. Yeah, no worries. It's a
Tongue tied.
mouthful.
Toystoragenation.com. That's
You
better.
got it.
And then that way you can find out more about this and attend the events and get more information. And I'm sure, Amy, you'd be happy to take calls and field some calls
Oh,
for people who need some.
absolutely. Happy to
Yeah.
help in whatever way I can. This has just been, so amazing. I've been in media for many, many years. This segment, first of all, storage, overall, a very friendly industry. With this boat and RV segment, the need is so there,
Yeah.
happy to help in whatever way we can. I've had people thanking me after attending events and things like that, which it's nice to know we're providing something that's so needed for people and that
Yes.
we can help them, with their move along in the industry.
Yes. Well, and I thank you for thinking of it and doing this and making it happen. And again, for spending time with us today.
Absolutely.
If you
Thank
ever need
you.
us, let us know. And again, I'm Carol Mixon from Skill Check, and we do a variety of things in storage too. So I can help you out when you get it going.
I get
How's that?
you.
Thank you, Amy, again. You're awesome.
Thank you. Thank
For all
you
your
very
help.
much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.